on right now. So our policy is that we do make a replay available after the meeting. It is publicly available. We may also pull out stills, little video clips as part of our public relations and marketing of the club. But exceptions can be made. We can destroy the evidence if something goes horribly wrong in the context of this session. You just need to let us know. So we want to welcome you to Online Presenters Toastmasters. This is a club that meets online and focuses on learning skills for better webinars and online events of all sorts. We do want to thank RingCentral for allowing us to use the RingCentral Meetings online meetings platform, which is integrated with a number of their products, including the GLIP social media thing that you see here and RingCentral Office. They do want me to let you know that the cloud is winning in business communications and RingCentral is winning in the cloud. We also want to mention that we have a webinar contest coming up in just a couple of weeks. And so that might be a good opportunity to invite people from other online clubs who might want to host a webinar contest, or other people who have never been to an online meeting at all and want to see what a fabulous experience this can be. So this is a contest of our own design. It's not officially recognized by Toastmasters International. I always say that so that people who stick to the rules don't yell at us for pretending to be something that we're not. But we do try and give people some exercise in the skills that are specific to an online presentation in this format. We want to give you a few tips. It's a good idea, if you haven't been here before, to have a headset. A pair of earbuds plugged into the computer will do in a pinch to prevent audio feedback. Mute your mic when it's not your turn. And the Toastmaster of the meeting will have the power to mute everybody and may do that occasionally. I can hear a little bit of audio feedback right now, which we'll deal with in a moment. So you can turn your microphone on and off. You can turn it on when you need to speak up. I think that's my own audio feedback going on there. I'm not sure why. You can also toggle your video on and off. In general, we want to be able to see you. This environment also has two different modes. There's the gallery view where you see everybody, and the active speaker view where you see the active presenter. Let's see. And we want to emphasize that it's important to watch the time. So literally, it can be easy to lose track of the feed from the timer, who's supposed to be giving you green, yellow, and red signals to let you know if you're running out of time. So just take a moment, take a time out. If you can't find the video feed, you tell the Toastmaster of the day, I need a moment before I start my speech. Find the timer's feed, and then go forward. We will not penalize you for that at all. And if you are visiting and you are interested in becoming a member, we ask you to come at least twice as a guest so that you really know what you're getting into. Understand that this is an advanced club. It's not for absolute beginners. However, even if you don't meet our default membership requirement, it's possible to by a vote of the board, to get voted in if you have other assets that would make you a good addition to the club. You just have to make your pitch in a 1 to 2 minute speech. And with that, it is showtime. I will turn host control over to Rachel. So she will have you should see in the participants panel, the magical mute all button pop up in a moment. Rachel, you'll see something saying that you are in charge. It's going to take me just a moment to do that. And so you can shut people up as necessary. All right, Rachel, please take it away.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I'd like to especially welcome Darcel and Elizabeth for joining us this evening. I am Rachel, your Toastmaster of the day, and our meeting is broken down into 3 parts, and it is my responsibility to make sure that the meeting runs smoothly and on time. So we have our formal speeches, our table topics, and our evaluations. And there are several people that help me run this meeting and to make it run smoothly. And I will introduce those, and if you could give a minute on what your role is for the evening, just so we can make sure everybody's on the same page, I would appreciate it. So this evening we have Deborah Carr, who will be our AHA counter. Deborah, can you give us a little information on your role?
Yes, I will be counting the ahs, ums, ers, so's, and all the filler words that we have a tendency to use, and we'll go from there. I also don't even mention anything below 2. You know, if somebody makes 2 mistakes, no biggie.
Well, thank you so much, Deborah.
It's the clear stuff.
Well, thank you. And I'm sure you'll have me doing a lot of ums and so's this evening, so please be kind. Our next participant is David Carr with the timer. David, can you let us know how you'll be doing that this evening?
So I have a techie message that I use where I project the colors on the background. So you should start to see green, yellow, and red at the appropriate times. Again, assuming that you can find the timer's video feed when they all shift around. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. We have our grammarian, who will be Jim Dent this evening. Jim, would you like to share your role for the evening?
Sure. Yeah, I'll be the grammarian this evening. I'll be listening for both good and not so good use of grammar. And I'll also be introducing the word of the day, which is intoxicated. It's a verb, and you can use intoxicated or intoxicating or intoxicate. The definition is a symptom of someone who loses control of their faculties or behavior, such as from alcohol, drink, a drug, or a strong emotional effect. You may be overly happy or overly sad, and that could be construed as being intoxicated. So let's all be happy tonight and be intoxicated.
Well, thank you for that. I hope nobody is intoxicated this evening as they're giving their speech, because I don't think we have any types of speeches like that this evening. So let's keep it all on the up and up tonight. Our watcher will be John Quick. John, if you'd like to give us a little spiel about your role this evening.
Madam Toastmaster, as the watcher, I'll be looking at everybody's screens and cameras, any visual effects that you use, and making a report on some of the good uses at the end of the meeting.
Thank you for that, John. We also have Jim Barber, who is our vote counter. Jim, would you like to tell us what that does?
Indeed, Madam Toastmaster. The vote counter is probably the most important role of the entire meeting. It's a highly complex role with many subtle nuances. As the vote counter this evening, I will be, drum roll please, counting the votes. That's it, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you for that added humor. And we have Lewis Brown, who will be our chat monitor. Lewis, would you like to tell us about the chat?
Sure, Madam Toastmaster and guests and fellow Toastmasters. As chat monitor, my duties are just as secretly tough to figure out as Jim's are, meaning, what does the vote counter do? What does the chat monitor do? Well, chat monitor monitors the chat. And basically, I'm looking for anything. Feel free to use the chat for as you are now. I see a lot of messages popping up. I'm looking for particular items of importance to share with the group at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Well, thank you, Lou, and thank you to everybody for participating and taking on the roles. And so without further ado, let's jump into our formal speeches this evening, which we have 3. So we have a full roster this evening. We'll have our first speaker, which will be Norman, who will be evaluated by Roger. Then we will have speaker 2, who will be Samuel, who will be evaluated by Adrienne. And then our final speaker for the evening will be Dagmara, who will be evaluated by Monica. So we'll get started with Norman. Norman, his title is Truth, the Most Dangerous Idea. And his introduction goes, in West Africa, it is said that when a griot dies, a library burns down. Griots were the storytelling historian preachers who were the custodians of the culture and faith of a people. Norman Dow seeks to recover the oral tradition in the 21st century through stories of faith and history. Norman Dow, truth, the most dangerous idea. The most dangerous idea, Norman Dow. Norman.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm going to start with a question. Can any of you think of a South African activist whose name does not end in Mandela or Tutu? Well, if you can't, you'll find out after this speech. On Tuesday, September 13th, 1977, the world in South Africa were surprised to note that Steve Biko, the founder of Black consciousness, had died, supposedly, from a hunger strike in prison. No one believed it. Many thought he'd been killed. Some thought that perhaps he'd given a hint of what could have happened in an interview he'd given to the New Republic. He said that he'd once told the police, if you want us to make any progress, the best thing for us is to talk. Don't try any form of rough stuff, because it just won't work. For there's nothing you can do to me which make me all of a sudden soften to you. If you talk to me, well, I'll react to you as a fellow human being. But when you adopt rough stuff, you are imprinting in my mind that you are police. And I only understand one form of dealing with police, and that is to be as unhelpful as possible. One policeman said, I will kill you. He meant to intimidate me. But my answer was, how long is it going to take you? Steve Biko did not die from a hunger strike. The police said he was in a scuffle. He was punched, beaten with a hose, and smashed into the wall. Then he was chained, spread eagle, crucifixion style, against a metal grate, hands and feet. Later, they just dropped him on a cold concrete floor and left him for over a day without medical attention. He had suffered severe trauma, including neurological damage. Finally, they transferred him to a maximum security prison 700 miles away, not to a hospital, but to a prison. He didn't make it. What had Steve Biko done to be beaten to death? He didn't riot or incite a riot. He didn't engage in any conspiracy. He was not treasonous. He simply stood for the truth. Dangerous truth, inconvenient truth, but nonetheless, the truth. What truth had provoked Steve Biko's death? It's as if he heard the words, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that are found in the U.S. Declaration of Independence. Its roots are in Genesis 1:1, when God says that all men were created in the image and likeness of God. Steve Biko, a deeply religious man, believed that the government's charges against him were an indictment against God for creating him black, and an indictment against Christ for saying he was free. Steve Biko was killed for standing up for the dangerous idea that all men are created equal. Well, the truth is that all men are, in fact, created equal. But it was a dangerous truth. It was an affront to the lie of white supremacy that undergirded the apartheid regime. They couldn't allow this dangerous truth to survive. Therefore, Steve Biko had to die. You know, the truth is foundational. You can build anything, you cannot build anything worth building without a solid foundation. If you're building a concept, a movement, an idea, or even a business, you must start with the truth. Truth is fundamental to our freedom. Jesus said in John 8:32, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." My challenge to you is to be men and women of the truth. We must stand against lies. Since truth is dangerous, it also is costly. I challenge you to be courageous. Don't let lies that dehumanize people who are of a different race, a different nationality, a different immigration status, a different faith. Don't let lies about them stand. Don't let lies about other sexes stand. Reject the current notion that is so prevalent today that any truth you do not like is a lie or is fake, excuse me. Fellow Toastmasters, embrace the dangerous. Live the truth. Speak the truth. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you for that, Norman. Your speeches always uplift me, so I always look forward to them on a Monday. So thank you for that. Our second speaker this evening is Samuel Moran. He is doing Presentation Mastery Level 1, his icebreaker, and his title is Sam I'm. Sam is a success and performance coach in Portland, Oregon. He is presenting his icebreaker to allow us to get to know him better. Sam is dropping the curtain and letting us in behind the scenes with his speech, Sam I'm. His speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Sam Moran, Sam I'm. Sam.
Thank you, Madam Toastmasters, and welcome to my life in 6 seconds or 6 minutes or less. Madam Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. By the end of my presentations, you will be intoxicated with my life story. You will know where I was born, how I was raised, and get a glimpse of my childhood. You will know what drove me to migrate to the US and what my current projects and aspirations are. I was born in El Salvador, and in case you were wondering where El Salvador is, and since we have audiences from all over the world, I will point it out on the global map to begin with. It's in Central America, it's in the middle of the Americas. It's one of the smallest countries in the American continent. Currently, the population is about 6 million, and the size is very small for that amount of people. I don't know how we fit that many Salvadorians in there, but I guess we manage. Growing up, I started working when I was 10, 11 in the fields, and it looked like my presentation got out of order here. So my first job was picking coffee. Picking coffee can be seen like a backbreaking idea for some people. But as I look back, that's one of the parts of my life that built me who I am now. It showed me the respect for the hard work. It taught me how to be successful and be happy at the same time, even though what I was doing was not the easiest job. It wasn't the best that I could be at the time, but it was my only option. And one season I picked coffee, the other season I picked cotton. And that's how, since the age 11, I put myself to school. I started working full-time at the age of 16 and pay my way through school, high school and junior college. I got my education here when junior college was electronics, and I dated myself here. Some of you may not even know what is on the left there, and that is an old vacuum tube. When I learned electronics, there were really no computers. My first computer was on a punch card. It was an all IBM. I took the size of a room, and we had real bugs. There were rats that go into that thing and made it stop working, and that's where the name bugs came from. In case you didn't know, there were real animals inside those things. And I worked my way through electronics. When I migrated to the US, my first job was as a repairman, as a TV repairman. Once I learned a little bit more about the business and the computer age took cover, I migrated into building clones, PC clones, and I did that for about 5 years, had my own business, and basically I supported myself by doing that. It was a great business until the mass production of computers came on board, and that idea, so I had to find a different way to make money. And that is when I decided to go back to school and finish my degree in management and information systems. I worked in that field for a few years, but I found that I didn't like that part of the business as much as I like tinkering with things. That drove me back to playing with electronic equipment, and I work as technical supervisor. I did a lot of the hands-on testing and quality control. So that's been my life, my education, and that's how I got here. What brought me to the U.S. in the beginning was in El Salvador. At that time, the war was raging. It was a civil war. There was not an open war, but it was an underlying war. There was a lot of killings that happened. Just, they were like, the rules were kill first, ask questions later. It was a war that was supported by the U.S. because they believed that the communism was taking over. I don't know where they got that idea, because it got started by the U.S., unfortunately. And you can see that this is some of the original pictures of soldiers and who they were fighting. There were women and children, basically. I moved to the U.S. My early stayed here. I became a single parent. There, wow, that looks like so many years ago. Well, it is. It's almost 35 years old now. And then I got married, had a wonderful family, raised 3 kids. And then also went through it, got divorced. I was single for 9 years, and after 9 years, I decided that being alone wasn't as much fun anymore. So I decided dating somebody, and we got serious about it. And now I have a second family, which is my current family. Right now, life is good. I'm enjoying what I'm doing and looking forward to the future. The best is yet to come, like I say, and what is next. After working so hard for so many years and having life knock and down, I decided to enjoy life and be present and not worry about what's next or what the future brings. I'll just take it one day at a time. My future projects is one of my original ambitions when I first came was I wanted to become a speaker, a trainer, and a group coach, and that's what I'm working for. That's my plan for the next 3 years. Madam Toastmaster.
Gracias, Sam, por toda la información de tu vida. Thank you for all the information on your life. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Our last speaker for the evening is Dagmara Sitek. Her title is The Most Important Thing in Your Life, and she's working on her Competent Communicator Project 6, Vocal Variety. What are the most important things in your life, and what choices do you make in life to achieve them? Her speech will be 5 to 7 minutes. Dagmara Sitek, the most important thing in your life.
Masters, can you please share with me what is the most important thing in your life? If you can just unmute yourself for a second, share with me.
My husband.
family.
My son.
Has been fun. Thank you so much for sharing. For me, the most important thing in my life is health. And I want to tell you today how I came to this realization. A few years ago, I was offered an amazing job offer in Beijing, China. Beijing is a today modern city with amazing, super fast access to the internet and obviously cutting edge technologies, artificial intelligence. For a person like me that work in technology, the dream just came true. I was so excited. And you know, in Beijing, every day you feel like you are living in a new age. You feel special. It's a very different feeling than you got when you work in Europe. That's not all. When I live in Beijing, and I really love Chinese food, every day I was grabbing some super delicious dim sum, freshly baked jiaozi, very famous Chinese dumplings, and every time it blew my mind how good it was. So I enjoy the life to the fullest. I work with the experts. I just felt like my career took off. I felt at the top of the world. And then after 2 years, I suddenly felt very sick. And I'm not talking any kind of sick. This was this kind of sick when you have a terrible fever, you cannot work for 3-4 days. Your boss is so angry with you because you're not coming to work again. This kind of sick, when you have this very weird red pimples all over your body. Once I drank 21 liters of water in one day and I still felt thirsty. Then I knew there's something really wrong with my body. Have you ever been sick 12 times per year? So I was searching for help, basically. I couldn't find out what's happening to me. And I went to hospitals. I went to clinics. I even went to acupuncture. Yes, I let them put the needles all over my body. It was very painful. And you know what was the diagnosis after half a year? I was intoxicated. But I was not intoxicated by drugs, alcohol, or anything like this. I was having a very healthy life. I was intoxicated by the pollution. Pollution. Like, are you kidding me? That wasn't in my job descriptions. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. And the worst part was that I didn't do anything. I didn't leave Beijing. I stayed there. I know that's crazy, right? I still cannot understand where were my priorities, but they're not, definitely not aligned with how generally health conscious I was before. So one day I got a wake-up call when my colleague, 29 years old friend from my work, she got a cancer. And this cancer was probably related to the pollution. I felt devastated. And that's sad to say, but this was the moment that I decided to take this decision, leave my comfortable expat life, and say goodbye to Beijing. And I did it. And I was so happy when I moved to Canada. After 1 year, when I totally recovered, after all these diseases and sickness from Beijing, I suddenly felt relieved. I felt so happy, like never before. I thought I was happy before with my comfortable expat life, but now I knew this is the happiness I was really, really feeling and searching for. So, fellow Toastmasters, it's really important to always consider your health and be thankful. Be very thankful because you are very rich. Your family is priceless. Your time is gold. And the true wealth is your health. And this is how I realized that my wealth of wealth is my health. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful speech. You make me think of all of the things that I need to do now to keep myself healthy. So thank you for that. So if we could have our timekeeper, David, was there any time disqualifications? If you can place those in the box, how are our speakers this evening?
I posted the times to the chat, but nobody was disqualified.
Okay, wonderful. So we have all 3 qualified speakers. So please vote for your favorite speaker of the day by sending your vote privately to our vote counter, Jim. We have Norman, Samuel, and Dagmara. So please vote for your favorite speaker. The next part of our meeting is our table topics, and this is always a fun and exciting spot where we get to hear people speak for 1 to 2 minutes. And we have our table topics master this evening is Elaine Nieberding. Elaine, take it away.
Good evening, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. The theme for our table topics is weddings today. You know, I found out that June is no longer in the United States the favorite month for weddings. It's actually September and October. And I also learned that in Australia, June is the least favorite month for weddings. How about that? Anyway, I have 4 different questions or things I'll be seeking responses on depending on time. The first one I would like to direct to Lewis Brown. Lewis, the royal wedding of Meghan Markle, a U.S. citizen, and Prince Harry of Great Britain drew massive viewerships over 14 networks in the U.S., 29.2 million viewers, a significant figure in light of diminishing television viewership, according to Nielsen. What either drew you to watch from afar, or had you choosing to pass? Share some reflections on the royal wedding.
Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, you probably see me giggling a little bit here. The reason being that I remember that day distinctly because the lead up to the day, whenever I would put on the TV, all I would see is news of the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry wedding. The royal wedding, oh, look at this, her dress, where did they go to eat, what is the pre-wedding, this, that. I mean, there were so many stories. It was actually a nice deflection from all the Trumpisms that I've been seeing in the news. So I was like, okay, well, at least we get a little break and not have to deal with all that nonsense and madness. Although, boy, right after the wedding, boy, didn't we get back to that. But I digress. Anyway, I had so much information that I saw leading up to the wedding, there really was no need for me to even see the wedding. And quite frankly, I did not want to have to see the wedding. I can't picture myself sitting there. It's like, I have to say it, I'm sure there's golfers in the room, but I just can't I'm not a person who likes golf. Not playing it, I don't mind playing, but I can't watch it. It is just so boring to me, sitting there and watching people walk around hitting it. I just can't do that. I need, I watch sports or any events that are just a lot more action going on. Well, I have to tell you, Madam Topics Master, that weddings kind of fall in that same category. And especially this one, because what was it, an 8-hour wedding, a 10-hour wedding? Was it a 2-day wedding? I'm not sure. It just took so long. I'm looking for the time right there. And so I said, you know what? Why do I even need to bother? First of all, I just got overwhelmed. I felt intoxicated as I was getting just overwhelmed with all the information about this upcoming wedding that I really didn't even need to go. And what's more is the fact that it just seemed so overly hyped. I'm like, it's just a wedding. What's the big deal? So that, Madam Topics Master, is why I chose not to view the royal wedding and instead not even look at anything for that day, because I wanted to have a kind of a day of health and wellness, kind of like Dagmara. I didn't want any of that other stuff to kind of drag me down. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, Lou. Glad to hear that you got clear on what was important for you for that day. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, I would like to invite one of our guests to either accept or decline this opportunity to respond on table topics. Elizabeth Reed, would you like to join the fun? I'm not sure what that means. Could you say yay or nay? Unmuted, please.
Yes, I would. I had my chat box over the mute button, the unmute.
Great. Okay, Elizabeth. If called upon by a family member or friend with a wedding ahead, what planning area would you comfortably or joyously be happy to share counsels or opinions on? Budgeting, locations, venues, event or food decor, bridal or attendant attire, or anything else?
Madam Table Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters, if I had the opportunity to choose which part of a wedding I would plan, it would definitely be the officiant's remarks. And it would start like this. Marriage is what brings us together today. If you've ever seen The Princess Bride, which is a children's movie that a lot of adults actually enjoy, that is the way the officiant begins, and it's so funny. I just can't help but laugh every time I hear that, and yet it's still very romantic. It's about true love and about this blessed union. I think it would be a great way to start the new life together for the young couple. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that most lighthearted response. And I hope the next wedding I attend, I don't hear the officiant start out that way. Next, I'd like to go on to Jim Gold. Jim Gold, when it comes to weddings, what makes you smile?
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, weddings, that wedge, I love that one too. I like the unconventional wedding. I was married on a water taxi, and I thought that that was just a wonderful way to get married. We took a small group, and we were from Fort Lauderdale. It was the 4th of July, and it was an intoxicating day, a little warm. No, it was really a lot hot. But we were not married in traditional wedding garments. We had shorts and summer dresses and beanies with propellers on the top. It was a wonderful way to get married on the 4th of July. We had our own water taxi. We had our own cakes. We had a wonderful time on the water. And when we got back, we went to the Yankee Clipper, which is one of the icons of Fort Lauderdale Beach. And one of the cool things that sets apart the Yankee Clipper is there's a bar downstairs that has a window that opens into the pool, so you can see people swimming in the pool. We had a couple of our group actually get into the pool and swim down and look at us through the bar. It was a wonderful wedding. So I think the thing that weddings do is just, if you can have some excitement, if you can have something different, I think that's the best thing for a wedding. Madam Table Topics Master.
Well, Jim, I'm sure your wedding made quite a splash. Thank you so much for your remarks. I'd like to ask our Madam Toastmaster, Rachel, do we have time for one more question, or does that about wrap it up?
We have time for one more question.
Okay, I'd like to direct this one to Jim Quick. Do I have the name right? John Quick. Excuse me, John. So happy you're here with us tonight. John, if you could have been a fly on the wall of any celebrity, historical, or otherwise outside your family wedding event, what might it have been and why?
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. If I could have been a fly at a wedding, I think it will be, I don't know, I'll just go back to, how about ancient Egypt with one of those pharaohs, Cleopatra or something, and we'll see, because I want to know, how did they build the pyramids? I'm sure it was like a wedding gift for one of those marriages. Maybe it took them a long time, so they had to, like, they started it for the first emperor, and then 25 generations later it was finally finished, so it became the wedding gift for that one. But I think I would go back in those ancient times, and obviously it's not so much about the wedding for me, but I want to spy on this ancient civilization and get a little bit of insights into what was going on there. And hopefully I could bring it back to the present and share it with you, Madam Table Topics Master.
I thank you, John, for transporting us back in time to consider what it just might have been like way back when, during the time of the construction of the pyramids or completion. Thank you so much. I now turn this back over to Madam Toastmaster Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Those were great table topics, and I might steal this idea for our meeting, my brick and mortar meeting on Thursday. Because I think they're hilarious, especially since I know some of us did get up early and did record and watch the, yes, Lou, we did. We watched it, the royal wedding. I think in my previous life I was an English woman. So I will ask the timer, did we have all of the table topic speakers qualify?
All within time, and the times are in the chat.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that, David. So we have 4 speakers this evening, so please vote for your favorite table topics. We have Lou Brown, Elizabeth Reed, Jim Gould, and John Quick. And now we're going to move on to one of my favorite parts of a table or of a Toastmasters meeting, and that is the speech evaluations. So we will have our first evaluator, Roger Fung, who was evaluating Norman Dow. Roger?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and thank you, Norman, for being such an intoxicating storyteller. That is a big thumbs up, and that is the #1 thing that stood out from your speech, not only tonight, but in all of your previous speeches. Whether you use the whole speech in telling a great story or using stories, incorporating the stories into your speech, you have a great way of drawing us in, keeping us in, and inspiring us to greater things with your speeches. And that is one of your biggest strengths tonight, and also other speeches that you have given before. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. First, I want to move over to 3 suggestions I want to give to you. 2 minor ones, small ones, and 1 a little bit bigger one. First, in terms of your gestures, being online, we are limited by the space. There was a couple times that you were making some hand gestures that was way out and looks like you're moving, but we couldn't tell. So therefore, you want to keep it within frame. Minor point. Minor point number 2. You got started a little bit slow, but as you warmed up, you got better and better. When you first asked us the question in the beginning and the opening of your speech, you could have paused a little longer. and make us sweat a little bit in terms of searching our memories, then give us the punchline, then lead us into the next part. But you went along and you very quickly just went along, missing some of that part. But as you got into the body, you start to slow down a little bit. You start adding a little bit more pauses in strategic places. So therefore, again, minor part, but the biggest one is this speech is about inspiring the audience. And no doubt I have been inspired. I would say if I give you a grade point of 0 to 100, it was about 80 to 85. I felt that in this story and the way you speak, giving storytelling, you can push this all the way up to 95 and plus. Why is it that I gave you a little bit less? Because I didn't feel like you gave us the reason why. You told us about living the truth, telling the truth, and you built up on it. You start off with the truth in the title, and throughout the speech, you kept repeating that theme. That was good. It's building it up and building it up. You incorporated real life story and biblical story. You weave that in. Again, building it up and building it up. But one thing I was still looking for, I was waiting all the way to the end is, why should we live the truth? You made some assumption as that all of us should live the truth, but each one of us might have a different reason. What are some of your reasons why you believe we need to live out the truth and stand up for it, even in spite of horrendous results? So therefore, if you gave us that, I believe as you build up toward the end, it would have been a slam dunk. This I would give you a triple on this, not quite a home run. So again, you are a wonderful storyteller. Continue to work on that, and I believe you will knock this out of the park. Thank you. Thank you, Norman. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Great evaluation, Roger. Thank you for those details, for sharing with that and with Norman. This is a group that is a safe zone, so it's really great feedback. So thank you for that. Our next evaluator is Adrienne Williams, who will be evaluating Samuel Moran. Adrienne.
Hi, Samuel. I want to give you a congratulations for stepping out to do your first speech. Well, not your first speech, but you're still in the first annual, which is something exciting. Whenever we talk about our family, it's always is an exciting thing. And your title was amazing. Enjoy life. Be present. That stuck with me. And I was thinking of ways that you could have woven that message out your speech, because it is so relevant and it applies to each one of us. It would have made that speech a little more personal for you and for all of us. Enjoy life. Be present. When you talked about your family, it made us all reflect back on our family as well. We thought about those things in the journey that we go through to get a better outcome. It would be awesome to know more about them. Family is so exciting. It's one of the things that we can talk about. We could tell a story so that you can relate better to my mother or my father, and it gives us an experience that you went through. It gets us drawn into the character of your story. It was amazing to know that you centered all of your experiences around your family. It's an important thing. And the journey of going through life and the struggle of how to get things done. It was a journey. It was exciting about that part of it. As far as your delivery of the speech, it would have been very nice to see you get some emotion. When we're online, it's very difficult because we can sit here, be monotone. Even if we were intoxicated, most people wouldn't know online because we would just sit there stiff. I've even seen people fall asleep watching a speech. But if you could bring that speech to life and really use your voice to articulate your message and draw us all in to what you're saying. These are some of the things I think you should consider in your next speech. Using your vocal variety, engaging with your audience, asking them questions, and using a solid opening, a close, and some points to substantiate what your message is about. And that would help us all to follow you on the journey of your speech and never, ever apologize. Just keep going. Most times we don't know if you made a mistake. Just keep going. Great job. I'm glad I was here to evaluate your speech, and thank you for sharing with all of the Toastmasters on Online Presenters. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Adrienne. I appreciate your feedback for Sam. Our third and final evaluation is Monica Tucker. She will be evaluating Dagmara Sitek. Monica? I saw her on here before.
I believe she dropped off. I saw her drop off.
Yeah. She had mentioned storms were in her neighborhood or in her area, and she might have to leave if she lost power. So.
Okay. Well, I will step in, Dagmara, and give you an evaluation. I really enjoyed the opening of your speech. I like when people ask questions because it gets me to remain focused in the moment. I think that's a good segue. It draws in your audience. I really enjoyed the detail, the leading up to, you know, the decision that you made, which was not easy. You know, we all go through life and we always hope to get that great thing, that great job, that great opportunity, and then we get it, and then something happens, and it ends up not being as great as we thought it was. I have a message on my whiteboard that says the grass is greener where you water it, not necessarily on the other side. So I keep thinking about that as I'm thinking about your speech. So you did an excellent job of that. And I really think it's an important lesson for all of us in that you put yourself first. Sometimes we can get caught up in life and not really stop and think of ourselves. I really enjoyed, and I know that this was on vocal variety, so I did enjoy your vocal where you took the time and opportunity to slow down when you needed to, speed up. You used some inflection when you were talking about it. I do think there's room for opportunity to develop that a little bit more, but I do really think that this was a really great developed speech. I think the next time you deliver this or a topic like this, consider, you know, a little bit more pause. I think that would be a great opportunity for us as listeners to be able to digest that more. And I do enjoy the part where you said pollution and how you really took intoxicating and wove that into your speech. Not many people, including myself, could use a word of the day on the fly so well throughout the speech. And so kudos to you for being able to do that on the fly, because there are some times where we get easy words and we just don't use them because we already have our speech prepared in our mind. So I appreciate your openness to tell us a little bit more personal about you. And I look forward to hearing more speeches from you. So thank you. So I will turn it back to me. Mr. Timer, do we have everybody who is valid or anybody disqualified?
Everybody qualified, and great job jumping in there to take on the evaluation.
Thanks, my pleasure. So please vote for your favorite evaluator. This evening we have Roger Fung, Adrienne Williams, and myself. So let's go ahead and have some quick reports from our helpers, and please share one or two things that stood out this evening, positively or negatively, because we're always looking, there's always room for improvement. If we could have our grammarian. Where are you, Jimmy?
Yes, the grammarian's report. First, I'll give you the report on word of the day. Several people who used it. Roger, Sam, Rachel, John, I didn't get John Quick, Lou Brown, Adriana, Dagmara, and Jim Gold. And Dagmara used it the most. Did I miss anybody?
Intoxicated.
Okay. On the grammarian side, there was a few people I noted that had what I would consider good grammar or colorful grammar. So I listened more for that as an educational moment, and Normally, I like the use of the term dangerous truth. Putting the word dangerous in front of truth really emphasizes the description of truth, that truth isn't always good. It's very cautious. And Sam used the term backbreaking work. Although it may sound cliche, it's a lot better than just saying hard work or difficult work. It's more picturesque. That you can picture somebody with their back loaded, a large sack on their back, and they're bent over. Lou Brown used the word Trumpism in his table topics, and that was unique. That was different. I like that. It may not be a real word, but it's a good description. Adrian, I like the fact that she used the term bring the speech to life. And she could have just said better gestures, more motion. She did use motion, but bringing the speech to life is much more descriptive. And Dagmara had several. I liked when she said something blew her mind, and she felt like the top of the world. And I liked how she injected the intoxicated word of the day and how she used it, especially the term that she was intoxicated by pollution. So back to you, to our general evaluator.
Thank you, Jimmy. Sorry, I have a dog that's going crazy. Can we have a report from our watcher?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. My tip today for watching is about video aspect ratios. This is the rectangle that we see on the screen, and there are a few different comment formats. You know, some people are on phones or tablets, some people are on desktops. And one thing is when you're using software like that removes your background, like that, you probably have some kind of setting where you can change the aspect ratio. A common one would be 4:3, like on an old television screen. But right now, Zoom, for instance, people looking on the desktop right now is going to use a 16:9 ratio. And in that case, if you happen to be set on a different ratio, you're going to get black bars on the side. So in the cases where you have control over that, like I say, the people who are using software in the background and things probably have that kind of setting available to them. Think about how you can match the screens of a particular software. And that's just Zoom on the desktop. Other software will have other preferences for how it displays you. So just something to be aware of. It's best always to fill the screen as best as you can for as many people as you can. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you for that lesson, John. I had no idea all of that tech stuff came along with it, so I'll have to get some help on that. Now we have our AHA counter. Ms. Carr.
Here we are. I actually listen. A lot of times I forget that I'm supposed to be counting, but I actually listened tonight. And what I found out, what I realized was quite a few months ago when I was the counter then, Dagmar had spoke and she had like 11 or 17 ahs and ums, and tonight none. 0. So she did. I mean, and everybody did absolutely fabulous tonight. There was just a few ums and a couple ahs sprinkled through with just an intoxicating whisper.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And our chat monitor. How did our chat go this evening?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. First of all, the chat was actually very busy this evening. A lot of chatting going on. Great job, folks, and communicating with each other. Trumpism, by the way, I think is a word, quite bigly, as a matter of fact. And if it's not, it's certainly then an alternative fact. Just my opinion. Anyway, there was actually quite a bit of chatter as far as where Elizabeth is from and where she has traveled throughout her entire life, as a Navy brat, and lots of royal weddings / royal family tidbits. Norman posted a bio of Steve, sorry, Biko? Did I pronounce it correct? Biko.
Pico.
Got it. In the chat box, so check out that, or feel free to Google Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Lou. And Graham, could you wrap up our meeting with a really good general evaluation, please?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster, we actually don't have time for a general evaluation, so I will send evaluation notes to each of the participants, to the evaluators and to the topics master and etc. But let me give a general observation of the meeting. I really liked the way that Carol handled the discussions at the beginning. I thought that you ran a particularly smooth session as Toastmaster, that we are running a couple of minutes late because a couple of our reports ran long. But in general terms, I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. I'm really glad to be back, and I'm looking forward to continuing to grow with this club.
Thank you, Graham. And Mr. Vote Counter, Jim, could you give us the results?
Yes, indeed, Madam Toastmaster. In the interests of time, let me go to the close. Our best speaker this evening was Dagmara. Our best table topics presenter was Elizabeth. And our best evaluator was Roger.
Thank you so much, Jim. And that concludes my responsibilities as your Toastmaster. I will turn this over to David to end our meeting today. Thank you, everybody, for your participation.
All right. Great job, Rachel. Great job, Carol, for running the self-introductions at the beginning, stepping in. You can hear me, yes? Okay, all right. This is the part of the meeting where we'd like to hear from visitors what they made of this experience. Elizabeth Reed, would you like to give us a little bit of feedback?
Yes, I would. Yeah, so thank you for letting me visit. This is really fun. I love my home club, but I can't always get there because of other things going on during the day. It's a lunch meeting, but evening meetings would be more convenient, so I would love to visit you again.
Please come back. Absolutely. Let's also hear from Darcel. So we're not hearing you yet. Let me. Oh, see, I can't unmute. You have to unmute yourself. The button in the lower left-hand corner.
She's on the phone. I'm not sure what that's
She's on the phone.
So, who's got,
there we go.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, again. Initially, when I had the Monday invite, I was bowling with Calvary Chapel. And our bowling was from 6 to 9. And I decided this year that I would not bowl, that I would pay more attention to my Toastmasters Club because I'm really interested in obtaining my DTM. And I've been training my members and the clubs that I have been assigned to on the Pathways Learning Experience. So when I got invited to this particular meeting tonight, I said, oh, wow, I can do this now because last time I was not able. I'm looking forward to coming back and hopefully I can be able to join, and Monday nights will be set aside for my online Toastmasters Club. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. And maybe we should also hear from Salma, who actually is not a guest. Salma's, I believe, our newest member. Correct? Unless I'm confusing you.
No, you are right.
You are right. All right, you paid the money. You sent the paperwork. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be part of it. I always feel uncomfortable doing adding on online, so this is a great opportunity for me to be part of it, listen to experts here, and just get better.
Okay.
I would like to get some help in Pathway. I have just started. I'm still confused. I know I have to do my icebreaker. So, well, I'll be in touch with somebody.
Okay, yeah, we actually have several people here who've been helping with the Pathways education, so you should have a surplus of help. You'll be overwhelmed with people volunteering to help out.
Oh, good.
So,
thank you.
And actually, Roger posted something in the chat that we really ought to mention, which is congratulations to everybody who helped us get to President's Distinguished status. A little bit extra challenging for an online club and for an advanced club in some ways. We have to juggle a little bit more. And frankly, it was no help to me. I said I would finish a CC, and I didn't quite get to speech number 10. I will do that early in the next term, so that we'll have that to count next time around.
I want to give a big thank you to Adrienne. She really pushed and pushed to make sure that we did this, and she did awesome. Her behind-the-scenes activity was very nice. Thank you.
We should also give some credit to Roger, who has no official role and yet does an awful lot. So he's been Adrienne's right-hand man.
Absolutely. Thank you to the education
right-hand man too. So
yes, we fought for points. They didn't want to give them to us, and we had our documentation, and we fought. That's why we met our goal. That was a huge task that involved Carol and Lois and some other people behind the scenes. So Monica, thank you so much for your documentation. Had they not taken pictures of the sign-in sheet, we would still be complaining about not having our points. So that's great. Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're done for this night's meeting, unless anybody else has something else they want to bring up.
Next week, Adrienne is going to be our Toastmasters of the evening.
All right, fantastic. And Elaine, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to mention Lois is not here. It's her birthday. So if she's watching the replay, happy birthday, Lois.
Happy birthday, Lois.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Lois.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lois.
Happy birthday to you.
Nice.
All right, I think we're done. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Father's Day, everybody.
Take care.
Happy Father's Day.
Oh.